Greetings YouTube. Today I'm going to review an older 3.5 D&D book, Stormwrack. This was a request by someone, one of my subscribers, who was interested in knowing whether this book is worth his money, because used copies on Amazon are like $30, so they're not cheap. In fact, I think this was $35 new, and used it's going for $30. It's nuts. I mean, I don't know why it's so popular. It's good, but it's a lot of money for a used book. So I'm going to read some, just to kind of use the table of contents as a list of notes here for you. The first chapter deals with the environment of the ocean, both a fairly realistic take on the type of environment you're going to encounter in an aquatic campaign, and along with some fantasy elements like magical underwater structures, things actually produced out of water themselves, you know, like elemental kind of magic, things like that. It definitely gives you everything that you need to really run an aquatic campaign as far as the structure and the environment is concerned. Quite useful. Next is the races, and some of these races I thought were pretty cool. Some of them really didn't thrill me. You have got the Aventi, which are basically aquatic humans. They're okay, not real flavorful, pretty much just like humans, except they can breathe. They're amphibious, so they can go land or sea. Alright, nothing to be excited about. Next you have the Darfellan, and the Darfellan are a race of beings, of humanoids based off of Orca. And these guys are very cool. They don't breathe water, but they can hold their breath for a really long time. And they're completely and absolute enemies of the Sahuan, the Sharkmen. Absolutely diametrically opposed to them. So there's some like racial hatred in their genetic codes towards this race. I really like the Darfellan. I think they've got a nice feel. I like the illustrations. Kind of large little human, slightly on the large side, with black and white orca type colorations. Very cool. Next to the aquatic elves. You've seen aquatic elves before. I mean, they're the elves. The Hadawis. The Hadawis are essentially orangutans with gliding membranes between their arms and legs. So if they leap off something or fall off something, they just kind of open up their arms and they've got a built-in glide suit. Very cool. I think these were originally from the Spelljammer setting, and they fit into this setting very well. They've also got a climb rate, which lets them get up high and they can jump off things. Their gliding isn't great. I think it's a 4-to-1 ratio. So for like every 5 feet they drop, they glide 20 feet. But it's cool to have a race that you can climb really well and is never going to fall and hurt itself. I think that's kind of neat. Then we have a dwarven version, which is kind of really good at swimming. So it's like kind of like they build their dwarven settlements into sea cliffs. That's kind of a nice flavor. Not to mention it's one of the few cases where dwarves get a view. Some gnomes, known as the watercress gnomes. They're kind of they're not truly aquatic, but they're used to living in an aquatic environment. And halflings, an actual fully aquatic amphibious halfling, which I kind of thought that was a nice idea, a different change of pace kind of thing. Then we have some class options for all of the standard classes. Some options that are appropriate to a aquatic campaign, and it trades off other class features to gain new aquatic class features. Then we have prestige classes. Knight of the Pearl, kind of an aquatic paladin kind of thing. Legendary Captain, this is your choice if you want to play a Dread Pirate Robert. Leviathan Hunter, which is a hunting-based PRC for really large beasts, like huge and larger. But it's not necessarily tied to the ocean. You could use this on any kind of aerial or land-based creature, but it's just most people think of hunting really big sea creatures. So I really like this class. It's only 5 levels, but I think it's worth it. Especially if you're a ranger and you've got a focus on like an aberration or something like that. This is a great class to pick. The Scarlet Corsair, kind of a questionable pirate kind of character, not a good guy, kind of a neutral, evil kind of person. The Sea Witch, it's a magic using class. with a sea theme. It's okay. The Stormcaster and the Wavekeeper. These are both good PRCs, full caster advancements, and the Wavekeeper is really aimed at druids. I think it's a good match. And we have an entire chapter on ships and equipment, both of which are good. There's some specialty materials in here. There are some unique weapons and armor to the aquatic environment. Pardon me. And of course, ships, which you need in an aquatic campaign. Next, you have a chapter on spells and magic, which has new spells, some new psionic powers, some new special magical materials, and some magical items, weapons, armor, wondrous items, things like that. Very solid. Then there is a monster chapter, which I thought was actually quite good. There is something called the Anguillian, which are essentially semi-humanoid sentient leeches. It's kind of a cool concept. Quite a few dinosaurs, which I quite like, aquatic dinosaurs. And overall, I think it was a solid listing of aquatic monsters that are going to be helpful if you're going to have a heavy aquatic campaign or want to drop your PCs into a heavy aquatic environment. It's a little more variety than you're going to find in the monster manuals. And then you have an entire chapter in the back which is adventure locales. And there are like 4 of these things, and there's some really nice adventure threads available. They got some deck plans and some maps that are quite useful. I really think if you want to run an aquatic campaign in the D&D 3.5 setting, I think this book is a must-have. And just in general, I think it's very handy. I consider it part of my collection. I happen to really like this book. I think of the environmental books, this ranks up there near some of the best of them. And I, for example, I find it much more useful than like the Dungeonscape or the Cityscape, which I'm hoping to review at some point myself in the future. But yeah, this is definitely a good book. I think it's worth $30 if you want to get a used copy. Your mileage may vary, but if I didn't have a copy, I wouldn't mind spending that to get a copy. But if you can find it cheaper, go for it, because it's definitely worth picking up.